Do
you want all like from last week's?
Yes.
You did want all that?
Yeah. Your stuff. I didn't get.
Well, I sent some of it to you.
Yeah, the conference going on, I didn't get a chance to, get to the test, so.
Look, I managed to fit all this stuff in my backpack. Hey Devin, where's Jade? Okay. Going around everywhere.
No, she's at the,
Hold on a second.
she's at the book table.
Don't hurt yourself. And you're not on camera over here.
Oh, okay. What? Do we have to? Yes.
As soon as you're gonna need your book anyway.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah,
And what else? I think that's it. Okay. So.
okay. So actually what I'm gonna do is hold off current events till the end. Normally we're done in like 14 minutes, but I don't think we're gonna be done in like 14 minutes. So, anything else going on other than the election, of course, coming up, but we'll talk about that here in
The Browns lost, or I don't know what's your news.
Yeah, the Browns lost, the Indians lost.
There was a
Has-
attempt, there was like the assassination thing on Trump yesterday, but it wasn't like an actual like, I don't know, like,
Wait, what?
I didn't hear anything about that.
Somebody yelled gun.
someone yelled gun, but there wasn't really a gun after a while, but.
They escorted a few people out of the,
Good.
and they took Trump off stage.
Oh, and then there's the whole thing about like terrorist attacks Monday, like today.
Yep.
All
So the internet was acting kind of up a little bit earlier today, so I wonder if again it's the Russians, so.
And then, yeah. If Hillary is elected, then she will be like.
Slide this over a little bit more.
Hardly wants to say if Hillary's elected, that wouldn't be so bad, but I guess we'd still get a few more days, but it's kind of.
Okay, so last week, do you have your pictorial? You want to start out with that? You can start out with that if you got it. Yep, that's perfect.
Yeah,
So-
please.
Sorry, I asked this now,
I
but
did.
how is it gonna work? Am I just gonna like,
We'll just,
sit up there and go to the slides and kind of read off them, or you just sit there?
I'll just click through them. I usually have a clicker, but I left it upstairs in my bag because of the
Because we're always gonna sit here and just read it.
Yeah,
In silence for like.
You missed my
15
Johnny
minutes.
Depp.
yeah, we missed our Johnny Depp.
Then you guys have like a question? Okay. That'd be awkward. Like
It is
sit there
kind of awkward.
watching what you read.
It is, yeah. You just don't check that.
And Mr. Turkey, I forgot to email my PowerPoint to you this week. So I think they're great on our.
We're not gonna get a break. How about, I'll just, if you don't send it to me. Louis Zamperini. Sweet. Anybody else know who Louis Zamperini is?
I do now. Looks like he's somebody in the army.
He was.
No, actually, I thought it was the Navy.
Oh, yeah, I know a lot of people.
It's my mom's birthday.
It's too bad.
It was cold.
Pete, Virginia, and Sylvia. Oh, his house still, looks like it still exists. I bet you they didn't have it that color though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, I couldn't find any better picture of the house.
Oh, that's good. Wow, 20 years. Welcome.
Hi,
We just got started. We're on Louis Zamperini. Huh? Yes,
It's 1 o'clock.
it's 1 o'clock.
Isn't that when we started?
Yeah, you're 4 minutes late.
Oh.
Like I said, we just started.
This question by God.
Yeah, I understand. Oh, so he was in the Army Air Corps. That's right, he flew an airplane.
Yeah, he was going to.
Or he didn't fly, but he was on it.
Yeah.
Wow, look at the size of that hole.
I can't remember how many, oh, it was already more, it was like 4 or 500 or something.
Yeah.
Just 5 or 6.
How could the plane not see them? They must not have been looking.
They were like homemade great white. Like that. Too. Wait. It's like 46 days.
Yes,
Scary it was.
from the movie Unbroken.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
The
I
bird,
have seen
what a name. His family. Look at how malnourished those guys are. I mean, you can count all their ribs.
I wasn't sure if I put that in there, but.
No, that's great. It's interesting that he carried the torch for the Winter Games, considering he was a Summer Olympics.
I love that he skateboards.
Yeah, he was actually, Angelina Jolie was actually there at his, when he died. She was filming the movie
Oh, yeah.
Unbroken. And she got to know him. Cool. So did you guys, what'd you guys think of doing the tutorial essays?
It was fun.
Different? Better than writing a 2 to 3 page paper, though, I got to imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I was gonna say, I mean, rather than, we usually do a pictorial essay at the end of the year too. I can sign a book report if you guys.
No.
Book report,
No, thank you.
You know,
I have too much.
you too much work.
We had done.
Yes.
Are we gonna do tutorials for each?
No.
Oh.
The next one is a research project. That takes the next 2 quarters. You have to do an NHD project.
Oh,
National History Day.
Remember last year?
That was bad.
It was so bad.
Yes, you will have a National History Day project due, I think it's February or March. Might be March.
Somebody March, that's our birthdays. My birthday's on Monday. If I have to do it on a Monday, I'm not coming to class. I'm sorry.
I did
What
a
if like I
National
entice
History
you with a treat here for
Okay,
your birthday?
yes, I'll always come.
Leonardo da Vinci. I did a radio recording for Leonardo da Vinci. It was fun.
Yeah, so you will be doing a National History Day project. But you don't have to enter into the National History Day
Oh, good.
program. So, but it has to be a research-based project. That's one of the requirements of being in high school.
What should I do? I'm trying to think of what.
Well, you got plenty of time to think about it yet. So you don't have to worry about it today. We gotta figure out I gotta look and see what the theme is. So we'll be getting that out soon, because what you'll need to do is figure out what you're gonna do and what your, so your topic and so forth. So. Okay, so last week we actually did start some of this since I misread the schedule and was a week ahead. So, of course, by now you've read chapter 9, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys all turned it. Oh, do you have your workout thing? Cool. So, Jefferson, probably one of the last really small government men of his time. Most of our presidents since then have been pretty much big government kind of people. So you have what we would call the Revolution of 1800, which really wasn't a revolution. You had Thomas Jefferson and the Jeffersonian Republicans, or Jeffersonian Republicanism. You're going to need to know what they stand for. Anybody remember? What did the Jeffersonian Republicanism stand for? Come on, anybody remember? What was it that the Jeffersonian Republicans stand
Central
for?
government?
Huh?
Central government?
Not really. They were kind of called for the common man, but they really weren't for the common man. Jefferson believed that liberty in the United States would be preserved only as long as the country remained predominantly a nation of independent, self-sufficient farmers. The Federalists preferred a strong central government to protect and further national interests. The Republicans operated on the principle that less government, the better. Jefferson had vigorously demonstrated his adherence to the ideas of states' rights against the claims of the national government in Virginia and Kentucky. So really he was one who was looking at the idea of that each state would be really where the power of the United States would reside, and not with a strong central government. If we looked at today's government, Jefferson would be like, "Oh my gosh, I was right. We should have done it this way." But the problem that you have is through slow progression, you get bigger and bigger government. Think about the news media. Anytime there's like a shooting in a school, what does the news media call for? What do they do? What does the media demand almost when there's a school shooting?
Gun restriction laws.
Gun restriction laws. Oh, this is clearly evident that we need to limit the number of people who have guns, right? News media does that. What happens if, say, there's somebody goes and goes hiking and ends up falling off a cliff or something like that? What do the news media's out there and somebody's always going, "Oh, see, we need to change the law. We shouldn't allow people to go hiking. We need to put handrails on all of our mountain passes." Or, somebody famous was to go rock climbing, or the hot air balloon accident. Immediately, we're always, we need to put on requirements on hot air balloons. Think about the fact the seatbelt laws. does the government have the right to require you to wear seatbelts? They do, but should they? That's the question. Isn't it your personal choice? Now, if seatbelt laws were as abortion, you would be allowed to not have, in fact, you could get your car without them. If we treat, if we had the same kind of view on rights of the people. Also, I hope you guys, did you guys enjoy the idea of Thomas Jefferson's religious views?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, he was probably, him and I would say Ben Franklin, probably the two weakest in their Christianity that we could say are deists. And they're usually the two that are most looked at when secularists like to say that, well, Jefferson, our founders were not Christians, they were deists. And so we have to know, we have to learn more about the other founders. Yes?
We read about this last year as an American Republic, and their textbook had a very similar view that sort of downplayed, they sort of, how this is going against if they were really Christians.
Right.
We read up on that, and there are people who go against that and explain the Jefferson Bible is not going to replace the Bible. It's go through it.
Right. Yeah, the thing is the what you have to look at though is the mindset of the person who goes out and changes the Bible. And Jefferson pulling out a lot of the miracles and stuff like that because he didn't necessarily believe. He was I guess he was one of those, more like a doubting, you could call him a doubting Thomas, which is interesting considering his name is Thomas. So again, I think the Lord having fun with his parents naming him Thomas in that sense. So you have the 12th Amendment coming about as how we and changes on how we elect the President of the United States. Let's see, which enabled electors to cast separate ballots for President and Vice President before it was done. You guys remember how it was done before that? How were they electing? See, it's hard to remember this because of the fact that we, how we used to do it did not last that long. So it's almost a viewpoint in remembering it. Yes?
Wasn't it something to the effect that the people elected people who would in turn elect the president?
Yeah, that's really what an elector is, and we still do that today. Ohio has, what happens though in our two-party system today is when Trump comes up with his group of electors, so when you go cast a vote for Trump, you're really casting a vote for those electors to be. So what happens is if Trump wins Ohio, all of Trump's electors go to Washington to cast their vote for the president and Trump. And they can actually, although some states don't allow them to change their mind, it depends on the state constitution in many respects, but actually there have been electors who've gone in and said, I'm not voting for this guy. Yes. They're like, okay, well, that's different. But because of the way the two-party system's set up today, that doesn't happen too often where you end up with somebody not being elected or somebody not getting the vote. There's some states that are proportional. I don't believe that is. It might only be in the primaries now. I think everything is an all or nothing. So if you win Florida, you get all of Florida's. You win Ohio, you get all of Ohio's. Some states used to be proportional, where if you got 60%, you got 60% of the electoral votes. But I actually don't mind that. Kind of wish that to some degree they were proportional. The other big thing during this time frame is the Marshall Court. And you have, that was of course because John Marshall was in charge of the Supreme Court. He was the Chief Justice. And so three very, very important cases came up. And the first one was Marbury versus Madison, and it established judicial review. So what is judicial review?
The right of the court to declare a law unconstitutional.
Correct. So that gives the Supreme Court the right to say that whether a law is constitutional or unconstitutional. Has been used for good and also used for bad. There, sometimes what's annoying with the Supreme Court is sometimes we think that they're the end-all be-all of all rule, and that is not true. And also thinking that the Supreme Court is always right. That is also not true, because of the fact that, think of the Dred Scott decision, which we will get to coming up just before the Civil War, which basically said that slaves had no rights, and therefore if they escaped, they had no rights. They could not appeal to the court because they were not considered true Americans, and therefore they were property of the people. So the Supreme Court is not always correct, and unfortunately today we look at them as kind of the be-all end-all of decisions. A recent one that they made was determining that the Obamacare was constitutional, and there was a lot of controversy over that. In the under the how something is, well, okay, so Obamacare was passed out of the Senate and then went in for ratification, and they passed it completely. Well, they came up with this idea that if you didn't buy insurance, you would have to pay a fee, a penalty. And they made sure to say it's not a tax, because all tax law, according to the Constitution, must originate in the House of Representatives. Well, what the Senate did is they took a bill that the House had already passed, they stripped the bill, rewrote the Obamacare law, put it into that bill, and basically said, well, yeah, it was passed, we're now taking it to the committee and doing all this. Well, it basically violates the law in the sense that this is a tax. So they, a number of people sued, but unfortunately, it didn't go anywhere. And when it got to the Supreme Court said, it's a tax, but it's allowed. And everybody's like shocked. People think that the Obamas had pictures of Chief Justice Roberts in compromising positions because of the fact that he was originally there's a lot based on his writings that he was going to side with the people to say that Obamacare was unconstitutional, and at the last minute changed his mind. So they think that there's a lot of conspiracies out there that he was bribed or told something was going to happen and basically told you have to vote this way. So very fascinating. If you want to look that up, it's one of the more fascinating controversies out there. Again, with the Supreme Court. Then after that, you have Givensworth versus Ogden, and that is on delegated powers. What are delegated powers?
Power given to the national government by the Constitution.
By the Constitution, yes. Delegate. Another important ruling handed down protected the federal government's delegated powers. Those powers specifically given to the national government by the Constitution. So those are the powers that are in the Constitution spelled out that the federal government has the ability to do. Now the next one is McCulloch versus Maryland, and this established implied powers. What are those? Yes?
Powers that enable the government to carry out the delegated powers.
Right. So in order to do the delegated powers, you have to have the right to carry those out, the authority to do that. The state of Maryland opposed the Bank of the United States or the state of Maryland reports the idea of national bank and tried to tax the Baltimore branch of the Bank of the United States out of existence, claiming that the power to tax involves the power to destroy. The government overruled the state's action. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and so this is where the idea of the laws come from. Is that the implied powers, that if the federal government has the right to do currency, then they have the right to enforce those things, and the states cannot usurp those rights. So one of the things that many people don't know was back during Katrina, when everybody was blaming George Bush for the failure of the dams down there and the levees, and it flooding New Orleans during that time. Well, one of the big things that they complained about is that George W. Bush did not act soon enough. The problem is that the federal government really is not allowed to go into a state without being invited. So they must be invited by the governor or the mayor, depending on what it is, or local law enforcement, in order for the federal people to be able to come in and handle this. Really gives a lot of power to our sheriffs, because they can actually tell them yes or no. What? What's up?
Sorry, I'm your substitute teacher today. You guys all have the afternoon off. How long is your class?
Till 2:30?
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Did you all have the afternoon off?
Yeah, he said you guys could have, after 2:30, you guys can all have the afternoon off.
It's like micro.
That's what I thought. What's micro?
From Dirty Jobs.
I love that show.
Oh, yeah, I know. So let's see, so let's, some of Jefferson's triumphs. The Barbary States. I think I mentioned this last week, we were paying ransom to the Barbary States, because that they do is they go in and take our ships and then hold them for ransom, and we pay ransom. Well, Jefferson said enough, he put the money into a navy. We went over to kick their butts, and they no longer started taking it. They stopped taking our ships. The other one is, of course, the Louisiana Purchase. I forgot to bring my book. I'll bring it in next week so you guys can see that. Why did Napoleon sell?
Because he was
getting ready for a war.
Yeah, he was getting money so he could pay stuff.
Need money. Unlike today, we can't just print our money. Yes.
So like, a friend of ours, she married a man from Haiti.
Uh-huh.
And so there's also sort of like an unwritten history in Haiti. Haiti had overturned the French who were controlling them. And
Uh-huh.
Napoleon was sort of distraught and, thought his kingdom in America was over. So,
Ah. So that's there's always, things aren't as simple as like a lot of textbooks put it. There's a lot of hidden things that also go on behind the scene. But yes, you had Meriwether Lewis. Poor guy gets named Meriwether.
That's my favorite.
I know, it's actually a pretty cool name, but it's like, just seems like, hey, Mary.
Well, that's
Yeah.
from the Lord of the Rings, so.
That's true, but yeah,
So it's
but he's a hobbit.
He's also-
Yeah,
What?
a hobbit.
No,
No,
Mary.
Mary and Pippin from the Hobbit.
Jonathan's real name is Mary Marshall.
That's why he changed his name.
Oh, wait, those two were in the
Okay.
Hobbit?
No.
Well, they're
Rings.
hobbits. They were in the Lord of the Rings.
I'm sorry, I didn't read those.
And then you can watch the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Sacagawea, of course, she helps them. And also during that time, you got Zebulon Pike and Pikes Peak. So now when you go, if you ever go climb Pikes Peak or go visit, hey, I read about this guy who discovered that. Aaron Burr, why was he tried for treason?
Didn't he like have a dual Alexander Hamilton end up killing him?
No, he began stockpiling supplies and weapons on an island in the Ohio River between Virginia and Ohio. And people think that he intended to take over Mexico. I don't know. That's just what this says.
Yeah, Burke became one of the most influential men in New York. Republicans added to the ticket. 1804, Burr ran for governor of New York. With outside help, Burr began stockpiling supplies and weapons on an island in the Ohio River between Virginia and Ohio. Some people think he intended to take over Mexico, and others think that he planned to lead a Western states and territories out of the Union to form his own empire. So Jefferson had Burr arrested, he was acquitted, and Marshall ruled that there were not 2 witnesses to the alleged treason as the Constitution required. But it probably delayed him long enough where he lost all his support, so it worked. Of course, if it goes through the court system like we do today, it could have taken years and years and years. Indians in Northwest Territory, you had Mad Anthony Wayne. There's a city named after him. Actually, it was called a Fort Wayne, Indiana, just across the border. Then you have William Henry Harrison, Tecumseh and the Prophet. Anybody ever see Act of Valor? You haven't
I
seen the
think
movie
I started watching it.
Act of Valor?
Is it on?
I'm sure it is. Act of Valor is really cool. They read the poem of Tecumseh. It's one of my favorite.
How is that, do they like literally just read the poem straight through?
Yeah, no, not at the end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
It's at the end of the movie.
Like, wow, what a movie, they do poems straight.
No. So you have the Battle of Tippecanoe. It's significant for Tecumseh's vision of uniting the Indians in the Confederation. That ends up, of course, failing, and we all know shortly what happens, unfortunately, to the Indians. Again, I said this last week, as Christians, we should always be honest about where we live and things of the past. It's not our job to make excuses. The 2 biggest blights on America, slavery and how we handled the Indians. There is no justification for either. If you look at what we did to the Indians, it was horrific. And also what we did with slavery was also horrific. But also, we cannot judge people today based on our people yesterday with today's morality, because things were different back then. That's my one caveat. We need to look at things, we need to try to look at things through their eyes as much as possible. Then you have the War of 1812. One of the things that the British liked to do was go up, pull up alongside a merchant ship, didn't care what flag it had, and say, oh, you're not American. This isn't really an American ship. These aren't really American people. You're British subjects. Guess what? We're taking 5 of your best crewmen and we're putting them on our ship to serve in Their Majesty's Navy. Or His Majesty's Navy back then. It's Her Majesty's now. Well, we didn't like that too much either. So we end up having, going to war against the British, which some people call the War of 1812 is the second war for independence. This war, the War of 1812, really is what sets us apart from now Britain. We are clearly no longer under their control and their authority. And of course, one of my favorite guys, I love his name, Oliver Hazard Perry. What a name. And the Battle of Lake Erie. You guys know the Battle of Lake Erie? You guys should know the Battle of Lake Erie. It happened just north of us here. In fact, it over near Cedar Point and Put-in-Bay. And what's the island? What's the name of the island?
Kelly Garden?
Kelly's Island, yes, not far from there, if I remember right. So, yeah, of course, things that led into it, the British imprisonment, Chesapeake Affair, the Warhawks, Henry Clay is elected Speaker of the House. Henry Clay is probably one of the strongest politicians during this time period. He, in fact, of course, he tries to run for president, doesn't succeed, but is a formidable opponent in the House. And when he becomes Speaker, he is a very, very strong Speaker of the House. Dominated the House for a long period of time. And if things don't get done in the House, they don't get done. That's the way it was. So the Speaker is, of course, too, if the President dies, the Vice President dies, the third line is the Speaker of the House. You have the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides. Why was it called Old Ironsides?
Anything to do with it enduring a long time?
Oh, because the cannonballs bounced off the side of the solid on the side of the, okay.
Yep.
They bounced off. That's tomorrow.
The oak that it was made out of was so strong that the cannonballs would actually bounce off of them like it was iron. So that's why they called it Old Ironsides. And again, the Battle of Lake Erie, and Perry and his victory on Lake Erie pretty much destroyed the British Navy in the lakes and gave us full control of the lakes. Now remember, Canada for a long time was part of the British Empire. So let's see, you're going to need to know this. The War of 1812, the British strive for victory. What was their 3 stages approach? Anybody remember?
And then we would decide from Canada to separate New York and England.
Yeah.
And then another force would attack and raid the major cities on the eastern coast. And then another force would attack and capture the
North, yep. And what's the significance of capturing New Orleans? What would you control if you captured New Orleans? How? What's the significance of New Orleans?
It's like in the Gulf.
Yeah, it's the Gulf, but what's it at the end of? It's got lots of I's and S's in it. The Mississippi River. Remember, the Ohio flows in the Mississippi. The Mississippi actually goes all the way up into Minneapolis, St. Paul, and even up into that area. So if you could control the mouth of the Mississippi, you could actually control all the way up and divide the country in 2. So strategically, back at this time, this is would be a huge victory for them. But what happens is the Battle of New Orleans. What happens at the Battle of New Orleans? That's why Andrew Jackson becomes a household name back then. Did we win or lose?
We won.
We won. The problem was the war was over. The Battle of New Orleans, actually, yeah, we won. Andrew Jackson becomes a hero, but the war was actually over. But of course, we didn't have the internet back then, so they didn't know.
Should have been focused in it.
And then, of course, what came out of this was Francis Scott Key and, our national anthem, which, of course, Colin Kaepernick likes to kneel at. So, shouldn't talk about it. He lost again. I'm so disappointed.
Wait, is he an Ohioan?
No.
Good.
He went to some school in Nevada, something like that. But okay, so we have, after the War of 1812, we end up with the era, we have during this time is the era of good feelings up to the War of 1812. So you have George Washington. So 4 of the 5 first presidents were from Virginia: Washington, Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe. All of these guys are from Virginia. So who was the second president that wasn't? And where was he from? Trivia question, come on. John Adams, where was he from? No.
Okay.
Come on. They had a tea party.
Boston?
Yeah, there you go.
What's this?
So he's actually from Boston. So he's actually a Massachusetts guy. You guys should all watch the miniseries John Adams. It's awesome. It's a great. During this time, you end up with the decline of the Federalists. You have conflict in Florida. John Adams, Andrew Jackson, and we end up purchasing Florida from Spain. Andrew Jackson is, of course, John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams is a great American hero. I think he doesn't get enough notoriety. Of course, he's the son of John Adams. And the fact that John Quincy spent a lot of time fighting for the end of slavery. If you watch the movie Amistad, he actually comes in and tries to help with the court case of the slaves who are on trial for mutiny and trying to get them off. Want to see a good movie with John Quincy? I think it's called, I think it's Amistad. I have to look it up. I think Sir Anthony Hopkins plays John Quincy Adams.
How do you spell that?
So, let me see.
Wow, that looks like a front page.
Yes. What do you mean I'm not connected then?
Usually there's a little dinosaur up on the screen and you can click on it. You just play this little game where you have to jump into barrels and cactuses.
No.
Jordan taught me that and it looks fun, but I work on my computer.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can do an IMDb one. Yep. There's Sir Anthony Hopkins right there. So, yeah, Morgan Freeman, Nigel Hawthorne plays Martin Van Buren. Anthony Hopkins plays John Quincy Adams. You know, Sir Anthony Hopkins, you know how many great people he's played? He played John Quincy Adams. He played Paul, the Apostle Paul. He played, of course,
He played Jesus in that one movie.
did he play Jesus too?
He played God in.
He also played, he played, of course, the father-in-law of Zorro in Zorro.
Yes.
Oh,
what?
yeah.
Evan Almighty.
Oh,
Ew.
no, Morgan Freeman did that, didn't he? Or was
Morgan
it?
Freeman is just awesome.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman. Oh, I was talking about Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, sorry. I was still on Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman's one of my favorite. Of course, he plays
He's like the
Fox
best narrator
in
ever.
Batman.
He does, and he's awesome. I just watched all of those videos.
He was in the Lego movie and he was
so
Matthew McConaughey is
Yes.
actually in
My
there.
brother loves him, and like
He's weird.
he has the weirdest obsession with him. Like, you
He's
calm down.
weird.
I like him. I
I
like
mean, I did.
What?
Not that much.
Rain of Fire.
Yeah.
Best performance. Interstellar.
Interstellar
is
was so good. Oh my
It
goodness.
was, I own it and I watched it like 5 times.
Yeah.
It's still-
Interstellar is really good.
Okay.
That's all I have for history today. Oh, by the way, my goodness, why don't you guys just ask me, when are you getting your grades? No, I get an email from, parents are asking about their grades. It's like, why not ask me? You're here in class. Your grades will be when I'm good and ready to give them to you. No, I'm just kidding. I don't care. Are you giving me any of that money? Okay.
And I used to look at that.
So, grades will probably come out by the end of this week, hopefully, if everything works out properly.
I will email our PowerPoint.
Yes,
Okay,
email you.
so I'm not gonna rip out paper because anymore because the last time I did that,
She struggled so hard at my house, and she almost ripped it in half. I was like, Tara,
It was
not
really
hard.
hard.
Mine was like perfect. And it was beautiful.
Take a knife,
I lost my pocket knife.
Yeah, I left mine.
My brother has 100 and he cut his.
There it is.
He has a
He's a boy.
I
That's
have
okay.
a really,
Go
really
on.
shitty pocket knife, and I have a really good one that I sold.
Okay, so that's all I have. Let's take like a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and we'll be done with, we'll finish up with government.
I have my phone, but it should be on the.
Hey guys. Bye, Devin.
Bye, Devin, see you later, hope you do better.
What's your name?
Is he sick?
Yeah.
Of what? Class?
I don't know.
No one wants
I'm going to okay.
Hey, you guys are just,
Taking your spot.
We've been waiting for a while. Get out of my seat.
you can come in.
I can sit there.
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know how to
live now.
Alex, you can sit there.
Guys, stop.
I don't want to sit there.
Whose phone is this?
Mine. Alex, you can sit here. This is a warm seat. Please take it back.
Yeah.
I like that
You're
seat.
welcome.
I'm so hot about this. I really feel bad.
It's like,
Ever seen
You
your
feel
death
bad
though?
about what?
Ever seen your death though?
Michaela wrote my boyfriend a note, but I told him it was